There's an interesting rumor going around today that Disney has parted ways with Taika Waititi after his Thor 4 movie failed to impress them. It's a bizarre time we live in where a movie that makes $700 million isn't enough. But when you actually take a moment, instead of slurping and consuming, to understand the way the finances around these films work, Thor 4 didn't make any money. Yes, the headlines say it grossed $700 million. Sure. But the budget was $250 million. It's also widely accepted that they spend at least that amount on advertising. So now we're at $500 million. Cost. In order to generate $500 million in revenue, you have to generate close to $1 billion at the theaters. A little bit less for Disney in particular, because Disney has a slightly sweeter deal with the theaters in terms of the percentages that they make. So I'm gonna say in good faith the movie probably broke even, or maybe profited a little bit, or maybe lost a little bit. Thor 4 wasn't like a terrible movie. It wasn't the best Thor movie, and it wasn't the worst Thor movie, but when you have a $250 million budget and you spend $250 million on advertising, you need to make $700 or $800 million at the box office, because remember that when you make $100 at the box office keeps 50% of that. So if they say you made $750 million at the box office, you really made $350 million. So you're talking about massive. Now, again, with Disney, they get a bigger chunk, so maybe 700 million is more like 4 to 450 million, but it's just the truth. And now there's a new rumor going around that Taika Waititi is out as the Thor 5 director, will not return after Thor 4 box office disappointment. Now, there are a lot of people that are like, well, Jeremy said that the box office wasn't a big success but look, it made 700 million. I just told you why it wasn't a big box office success, because when you look at what the theaters actually give to Disney and what they put back in their pocket after budget and advertising, Thor 4, I would say at best broke even. Now, will they sell more Disney Plus because of it? Maybe. Will they sell digital versions of it? I guess that's less likely now because, it'll be on Disney Plus. Matt Damon was recently talking about how the industry has changed so much because of no longer having DVD sales and having that second pop, that second bite at the apple. You see Taika Waititi out as Thor 5 director, and also another rumor, Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie in serious trouble. Again, they don't want to take risks. Thor Love and Thunder was a disappointment at the box office, and it would appear that director Taika Waititi will not be returning for Thor 5. According to reports, Waititi himself made the decision not to return to Thor and is not being pushed out by Disney. His reasoning is that he allegedly feels that the jokey version of the God of Thunder has been played out and it's time to move on. I would agree. Parentheses, to turn Star Wars into a comedy. I mean, I definitely think that Thor 4, that the goofball Thor thing is played out. I think Taika's correct here. I want to see a serious Thor where he's like, I want to see like punished Thor. You see, he feels he cannot pull out the same bag of tricks for Thor 5. Honestly, it's very understandable that he would not want to go back to the same as Guardian, well, another time. After breaking through to the mainstream in a big way with the third movie, he won an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for a Dark World War II comedy, Jojo Rabbit. By the way, excellent movie. Directed an acclaimed episode and performed in the hit Star Wars show The Mandalorian. Co-created Universally praised FX series of Reservation Dogs, never seen it, and starred in the legendary Pirate Blackbeard in HBO series OFMD. In other words, Taika has a lot on his plate without worrying about returning to diminishing returns for Thor 5. So jumping ship, essentially. Instead of dusting it off and figuring out a different way to kind of go after it, just abandon ship. Thankfully, Taika most likely isn't directing the live-action version of the anime Akira, which is a 180 from his usual lighthearted comedic takes. It's interesting. And again, these are the kind of entry-level sites. Giant freaking robot and Pirates and Princesses. And although Pirates and Princess I don't see as much, as I see it as kind of a less of a rumor site. It's generally better researched. But you see here, Forbes box office as Thor 4 passes 700 million. Not every Marvel movie needs to top $1 billion. Some serious quote from Scott Mendelson here. One of the skewed box office narratives being played out in 2022 is the notion that the MCU is on the ropes because of its two big films, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder, aren't shattering any and all relevant box office records. Although I think Doctor Strange should just fine. Doctor Strange only grossed 955 million. Again, I don't think anyone's saying that Doctor Strange was a failure. But again, you're talking about, a budget of, 250, 300 million, 700 million you need to recoup. So in fact, you do need to be grossing close to $1 billion. So the world and any other non-Iron Man, Spider-Man MCU film, save for Captain Marvel and Black Panther, Thor: Love and Thunder crossed 700 million worldwide yesterday, including a bigger than Ragnarok $316 million domestic total, but has been dogged by accusations of underperformance because Ragnarok earned $854 million in 2017, and also when our dollar was worth a lot more. However, neither film played in China or Russia, so we're missing around $150 million in likely global earnings. If Doctor Strange 2 had, under pre-coup expectations, played in those two key territories, it would have topped the $1.13 billion of Captain Marvel and Spider-Man Far From Home. Black Panther's $1.3 billion, including $700 million domestic and $105 million from China, is no more a fair point of comparison of any random MCU sequel than would be Top Gun Maverick or Mission Impossible 7 next summer. Likewise, Thor: Love and Thunder would surely have earned a global gross on par with the last Thor, and likely Guardians of the Galaxy with $870 million and Spider-Man $881 million. So yes, much of Marvel's "can this franchise be saved" chatter is down to China and Russia's situational exclusion. Or, they could spend less money on the movies. They could make more money. It's like they've peaked, right? They've maxed out. They've fully penetrated the U.S. market and the Western market. There's nothing left to sell here. Now, could you find a way to, spend $150 million on a movie only, and only 150 on or to 200, 200 on a movie and 200 on marketing? Give yourself a better chance to make money? Yeah, it seems reasonable. Marvel movies from the last decade are expected to both earn best case scenario box office and tower over the competition. Avengers: Age of Ultron began the whole superhero fatigue narrative back in 2015, both because it failed to open as high as the Avengers, and because of other tempos like Furious 7, $1.15 billion, and Jurassic Park, $1.6 billion, earned more in the first half of the year. Disney was untouchable in 2016 thanks to Captain America, Zootopia, Finding Dory, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. So it was less of an issue that Doctor Strange earned less, $677 million, than Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, $814 million. By the way, that movie sucked. None of the big 2017 MCU movies, Guardians 2 or Spider-Man 1 version 3 and Thor 3, even cracked $900 million. So, we're talking about, this says, if Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are both poorly received and earn closer to $600 million worldwide than $900 million worldwide, then we can panic. Otherwise, the 2022 Marvel movies are still pulling strong grosses by the standards of non-Avengers Marvel movies. The Black Panther exceeded those standards, and Spider-Man: No Way Home became a multi-generational nostalgic event. Doesn't mean that Thor 4 isn't a success, because it only barely passed Thor 3 domestically. Without China, Russia worldwide. The grosses are the grosses. And the last thing we want is Disney that expects every Marvel movie to pull at least Captain America Civil War grosses. That's how you get a straight to Disney Plus MCU movies. I don't know that I necessarily hate that idea. So Taika Waititi bails on Thor after he played it out and turned Thor into a joke. Almost certainly Chris Hemsworth will not turn in any more Thor movies. I can't imagine he would. Imagining an MCU without Thor and without Chris Evans as Captain America, and without like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, it's just not the same to me. They better hurry up and start making people care about these other characters. But I mean, to a certain extent, they're right. People will always consume Marvel movies, but I don't know if you're like me in this standard, but in this particular way. But the last 2 or 3 that have come out, I've been in no rush whatsoever to go see in the theater. And I don't know if other people are like that. You know, I know certainly people smash like for Annie. She's here to say hi. Hey, you perfin'? Oh, Annie wants to remind you, by the way, that coffee brand coffee.com launched our delicious spiked jack-o'-lantern pre-order, shipping next week. The best way to describe this flavor is fall as frick, I can say. It is not your standard pumpkin spice lame nutmeg latte. It's absolutely delicious. I'm drinking some right now. Well, actually, I'm drinking a super secret flavor that hasn't been announced yet. But I did have some spiked jack-o'-lantern yesterday, and it was really good. All available in whole bean or ground. So check that out at coffeebrandcoffee.com. We also have our double caffeinated, which just launched, and much, much more. Hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to you again real soon.